The Canadian government is absolutely livid over the great honking, the trucker protest. They've tried everything in the book to shut it down, and it's not working. It's being reported now there's about $1 billion in daily losses over this blockade, these borders being shut down. And now Joe Biden is entering the fray. What's happening in Canada is having a very serious impact on what's happening in the United States. And Joe Biden is pressuring Trudeau to end the blockade, saying, use your federal authority to shut it down. Trudeau's responded. Apparently in Ontario, so this is provincial, this is not federal, but apparently there's been a reaction to Joe Biden's statement. They're saying they're going to come after these guys. They're going to arrest the truckers, seize vehicles. There's even been reports that they're sending child services down to take the children of these truckers away. Stand strong, my peace-loving, civil disobedient protesters, because what you're doing is working and they have nothing. They have nothing. Yo, check this out. This is how crazy it's getting. You guys, U.S. offers Trudeau government help to end border blockade. Whoa, could you imagine U.S. intervening in Canadian protest? Somebody tweeted, I think they were joking, is the U.S. going to invade Canada? Apparently, to some degree, I don't know. Look, it's probably just something related to the U.S. side of the border, but still, the fact the U.S. is like, we know you got a big protest happening there in Canada, and we're going to help. They call it the Freedom Convoy, the Trucker Convoy, the Freedom Truckers, the Great Honking. But yo, if this keeps up, the level of severity escalating with these governments panicking because it's working, this could become the trucker revolution. 50 years from now, 100 years from now, there'll be a teacher in virtual metaverse class where everyone's brains are plugged into the neural link, and the teacher is going to be thought speaking to the children. Now turn your open up PDF page 100 to the Great Trucker Revolution, where the government's buckled under the pressure of but humble truckers. It's kind of crazy when you realize how serious things are getting, that in Canada now they're saying that it's criminal to disperse the GiveSendGo funds. Right. GiveSendGo's raised, I think, let's pull it up, $8.6 million for the Freedom Convoy. And a judge in Canada has frozen access to the donations. GiveSendGo responded by saying, yo, we ain't Canadian. We can do whatever we want with the money. Now, within reason, in the United States, you can't defraud people. But what I mean is they're going to be giving that money out. Now, I want to talk to you about what's going on with the U.S. government freaking out. But something very important must be said. This is exactly why I have always defended nonviolent civil disobedience. It works. It works when the people stand up and simply say, I will not comply. They don't know what to do. They need violence. They need you to be violent so that they can respond, because they, the government, have a monopoly on violence. That's why January 6th was so stupid. That's why anybody who engages in any kind of violence is stupid. Now, of course, people then try and play the stupid game. They're probably fed bots on Twitter when they're like, but the left is engaging in violence and it's working. Yeah, okay, they're an apparatus of the state. Duh. That's why they're not being prosecuted unless they like burn down a police station. They can smash up small business all day and night and get away with it because they're effectively an apparatus of the state. So yes, the state has a monopoly on violence, be it their cohorts on the ground pretending to protest or overt law enforcement. They don't know how to respond to you when you simply say, I will not be moved. What are you really going to do? Now, of course, they will escalate. They'll come for your kids. They'll do everything in their power to shut you down because they're not just going to let you win. But there is a recoil effect. It's a double-edged sword. In order to maintain the confidence of the people have to believe the system will work for them. Now, every day we get examples of the system not working for some people, but people still, the average person still believes, well, the system still mostly works. Nonviolent civil disobedience. What are you really doing? Blocking a road? So what are they going to get you for? Blocking a road? I mean, I don't even think it's a misdemeanor. I think it's a petty offense. I don't know. You should consult a lawyer before you engage in any nonviolent civil disobedience. But it works. So much so that the U.S. is now seeking to intervene. A lot of people on the left are now ragging on the right because many conservatives did complain, saying you shouldn't be able to block roadways. And I was always saying, nah, I disagree. You know, there was a bill in Florida, the anti-rioting thing, where it was like blocking a roadway could be a very serious offense. And I'm like, I don't like that. I think people should have a right to engage in nonviolent civil disobedience, because those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. And there's got to be some tolerance for unrest. If people are told you literally can do nothing but stand in a free speech zone the government has appointed, well, then you're not protesting anything. There's got to be some reasonable disruption. Now, of course, many conservatives said, no, blocking a roadway is wrong. Well, here we are with the Canadian truckers blocking roadways, and the left comes out and says, hypocrite! But I will respond. As much as the left would like to claim that, it still does not apply. If the right generally believes that blocking roadways is wrong, then the left, while the left is actively doing it, it works for the left, and then there's no accountability for the left. Do you think conservatives are going to be like, well, let's not do an effective tactic? Maybe you have just changed their opinions on blocking roadways because they realized it worked. Now, of course, as I mentioned, the government's going after these people because, well, the leftist activists are effectively an apparatus of the state, and they have a monopoly on violence. So when they do it, the media doesn't care. When you do it, they do. Here's a story from the CBC. U.S. offers Trudeau government help to end border blockade. Oh, you love to see it. U.S. officials have offered to help the Trudeau government end an anti-vaccine mandate protest blockade that is sending ripple effects through the American economy and causing increasing concern in Washington. The White House says U.S. officials had multiple conversations on Thursday with their Canadian counterparts about the blockade on the Ambassador Bridge, a major trade artery which connects Windsor, Ontario with Detroit. The White House said Thursday the U.S. federal cabinet and senior administration staff are now seized with this issue. They have been engaged around the clock to bring this to a swift end. Really, the White House is getting involved in a Canadian protest. Canadians, are you free? Let me ask the leftist Canadians. Do you like the U.S. government coming in to take control? Okay, offer help. I think it's particularly interesting. The administration of the U.S. President Joe Biden said Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas urged his Canadian counterparts Thursday to use their own federal powers to end the blockade. Mayorkas has also reportedly offered the help of his department to end the impasse. The White House did not elaborate on the help. Officers posted at border checkpoints at the Ambassador Bridge, crossing the two link, blah, 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 vital trade. Okay, we get it. Check it out. Here we go. Ontario authorizes cops to seize vehicles and fine drivers. Government asks court to freeze $8.6 million donated on GiveSendGo, and mayor warns truckers will be physically removed. No, they won't. The towing companies have already stated, 1, they will not be getting involved because they rely on the trucking industry and they don't want to cross that line. They've also stated it's damn near impossible to even move these rigs without cooperation from the drivers. We had one driver super chat us over at Timcast IRL, and he said, these tow truck drivers know that when a big rig puts on its air brakes, you ain't moving that thing unless the driver wants it to be moved. Now, of course, there are means of moving these trucks, but we're talking about heavy-duty equipment. And we had one tow truck driver chat us saying, yes, you can move them. It is possible. They say once you finally hook up the truck, it's going to be 60 to 90 minutes to even get it to move a little bit before it moves at all. That's truly incredible. But I think the reality is, while it may be physically possible, it is logistically impossible. I mean, look, you've got all these trucks blocking the streets. You've got all these cars around them. Sure, you could go in and tow the cars one by one, and then tow the trucks one by one, and then it'll take you 3 weeks, a month. Because for one, it's going to be hard logistically to even get in there and pull them out one by one. And two, the tow truck companies have already said no. So they're looking to crack down. So in this story, they talk about the Ambassador Bridge being blocked down. Truck drivers who have been in the city since the Freedom Convoy traveled to the nation's capital on January 23rd have blocked the bridge in a demonstration against Trudeau's vaccine mandate. You know, they're reporting that truckers may go to the Super Bowl, I don't know if I believe it. It's a DHS statement. They're like, beware, truckers might go to the Super Bowl and shut it down. And I'm like, why would they want to go to the Super Bowl? I mean, I get it. The Super Bowl is mostly rich people and corporate interests, but wouldn't the truckers want to go to the seat of government like they did in Canada? I wonder if the DHS did this for two reasons. I just wonder. There is interest in a U.S. trucker convoy. The DHS comes out and says, they may go to the Super Bowl, everybody. And what I think they're trying to do is to convince truckers that's where the protest is. So the truckers all then say, all right, where's the Super Bowl thing the DHS is warning about? Let's go there. That's bad for two reasons. One, it's a distraction. It'll keep the truckers away from where politics really matters, D.C. and other state capitals. And two, I think it'll just piss off regular people. What policy will be changed by shutting down the Super Bowl? Yo, I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is reprieve. It's relaxation. It's not political. I mean, there's probably going to be a bunch of woke commercials. And if people want to protest it, fine. But on Sunday, we're all going to get together. We're going to have pizza, wings, and beer. And we're just going to hang out. I'm not a big football guy, but Super Bowl is the day where everybody puts the TV on in the background, at least for us. And we get a bunch of wings and dip. And we do this thing with cream cheese, chili, and cheddar on top. And you bake it. Oh, we're really excited to hang out in the Super Bowl. Truth be told, if the truckers did shut down the Super Bowl and the news was going, I think we'd all still be like, yeah, truckers, you know what I mean? I just don't see that being an effective protest. And I also don't trust the DHS when they come out and they're like, oh, geez, oh no, truckers, they might be protesting the Super Bowl. And I'm like, what is that going to do for the truckers? No, for real, I mean, I get it. Maybe it's disruptive and sends a message, but ultimately will accomplish nothing. If trucks were in D.C., yo, you'd get a lot of really, really angry people. And what can they do about it? No, for real. I mean, the emperor has no clothes and we see it. So this is where it gets interesting. If Trudeau goes after nonviolent civil disobedience, it is going to shock the core of the average person who needs to believe the system will work for them. They're exposing themselves now with the draconian measures they're taking. They're telling regular people, remember how we all said that, BLM was fine? Well, now we're going after the truckers. This is so bad for them on so many levels. One, in a lot of circumstances with these despotic governments, they always try to make sure that the National Guard and the police are well fed and taken care of. One of my favorite stories, this may be urban legend or apocryphal, comes out of Youngstown, Ohio. This is what I was told during Occupy Wall Street when I traveled around and I talked to activists. What they told me was that in Youngstown, Ohio, the police were actually protesting with Occupy. And the protests were sweeping the streets. So the city went to the cops and said, what do you want? The cops said, we want, these demands. And the city said, you got everything you've wanted. Now go arrest everybody. And the cops came right back out and said, all right, everybody, this is an unlawful assembly. And I'm like, oh, you'll love to hear it. Now, maybe it's propaganda. Maybe it's not true, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's this viral video right now of a woman in her house in I think she's in Windsor in Canada. And a cop shows up, this young lady cop. And she's like, I couldn't help but notice that you posted on social media something about protesting. Here's some information for you. A threat. We know what it is. The woman at the door says to her, are you spying on our social media now? Yes, of course they are. They've always been. Yo, you think I'm going to get behind these cops that are engaging in any of this behavior? Nah, it's not going to happen. You think I'm going to pretend that big city, urban, liberal type police are worthy of my defense? They are not. Now, I live a sheriff's department. Deputies tend to be okay. Duly elected law enforcement. I kind of like that. Small town police departments, suburban police departments actually tend to be all right as well. The problem arises mostly with the big city departments, but don't get me wrong. I have very little trust in any law enforcement, any of them. Look, I've met some good cops in my day, even recently, and I think they do what they can. The problem is these cops don't know what the law is. They're not lawyers. You can't expect them to be. And so they just follow orders, the worst possible thing you could imagine. Over the past several years in the United States, they first did an ideological purge by letting Black Lives Matter run rampant and even burn down police stations. Many cops were faced with a public that despised them, a government that won't prosecute the people attacking them, and they're likely to go to prison. I warned, I said, any cop who's willing to stand for this, they're probably someone who should not be a cop. Because think about it. Someone who is beaten down over and over and over again and keeps just saying, please, sir, can I have another, is the kind of cop who's going to be told to go beat you, and they're going to say, without question, you got it. I was watching Outer Limits the other day, and it was this episode where there's a guy and he's like being put in this training simulation thing, and they keep asking him to do increasingly authoritarian things, and he just keeps agreeing. And it ends with him ultimately killing his own friend. So they tell him, like, look, these other people aren't following the program properly. And then he's in his quarters with his friend, and his friend is like, I'm going to go investigate what's going on. And he says, no, the authority told me to stop you. And he's like, what are you going to do, shoot me? And he does. He instantly wakes up from the simulation. And the guy says, the real test was whether or not you'd be willing to accept authority unquestioningly, and you passed. And the guy's like, yes, I did it. I'm the true soldier for the machine. And they said, and now because you're unwilling to ever resist, here's the true purpose of the test. We're going to be subjecting you to experimentation against your will, and you can't do anything about it. So that was basically, I mean, it's kind of a weird show, but the general idea is these people who are willing to say and do anything, they'll get their comeuppance. But right now, they dominate these police departments. Am I going to sit back and just accept and be like, oh, well, you know, I guess? No. Sorry, I'm not interested in defending cops who would engage in this behavior. So I'll tell you right now, when you look at the U.S. government now intervening, trying to get involved in this, y'all better be calling for some kind of at least defunding partially of many of these departments. You know, I'll tell you, I look at New York City. Crime is skyrocketing. Don't care, don't live there anymore. The people of New York City voted for this. So you know what? I support them in their efforts. The people of New York, and I mean this, I've said this before. Now, I've been told by conservatives is the more libertarian position, which is probably true because I'm not a conservative. I said, look, if there's a neighborhood and they vote no cops, I say no cops. Then let them reap what they sow. Look, maybe they're right. Things will improve. Maybe they're wrong. It'll get worse. That's their decision. They can vote for it, right? Well, I was told, I think it was Charlie Kirk and Will Chamberlain, they said, that's a libertarian position. The conservative position is uphold the law for everybody. And I'm like, I get it. I totally understand what you're saying. I don't agree. I understand, though, that just because some people don't want the law to apply doesn't mean you can just ignore it. The libertarian position is, if New York City says defund the cops, I'm going to say more power to you right there. Go ahead and do it. You got these leftists right now that are attacking conservatives, saying it's hypocritical to oppose blockades. But it's not hypocritical. It's just evolution. If the left gets away with it, don't be surprised if the right adopts the tactic. The right can now be like, here's my response. Look, if you're a conservative and you are complaining about road blockages from the left and now you're supporting them, you need only say one simple thing to these leftists. I'm sorry, you were right. Road blockages work. And you know what? We're going to use them too. Thank you for the help, the advice, and the understanding. Thanks for teaching us how to effectively protest. When all these people engaged in road blockages, I said, look, man, arrest them. Don't charge them with felonies. That's crazy. That's what they're doing in Florida. And conservatives are like, no. You need to understand. It's not just about what, you know, when something gets banned, it'll get banned for you too, right? We talk about this. The left wants to ban free speech, and then they're shocked when their speech gets curtailed. It's also about the tactics you can apply. If the left is increasingly using nonviolent civil disobedience with great effect, then consider doing it. But also consider that the left, being an apparatus of the state, can get away with a lot more than you can. So that's why I think Republicans, conservatives, you know, the more libertarian types are late to the party, because they don't have state support the way Black Lives Matter does. I mean, quite literally. Illinois was giving Black Lives Matter hard cash. Literally. The government of Illinois, the governor, gave $300,000 to a local Black Lives Matter chapter. They're actually state funded. Recognize the state will protect its interests. You are not the interest of the state. But this nonviolent civil disobedience stuff, man, it's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you always want to consult with a lawyer. I don't advocate doing things that are illegal, but I appreciate nonviolent civil disobedience because we don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, man. But also you need to understand that regular people are scared of violence. So when videos emerge, and this happened to Black Lives Matter, of extreme violence and rioting, Black Lives Matter approval rating and support plummeted. This was bad news for Democrats in a lot of ways. Now, you have truckers going out peacefully sitting around. And the media is trying to smear them and lie about them, but it's not working because people are just like, I don't understand. It's just trucks. You know, if the truckers were going around smashing stuff, people would be like, help, help, I'm being repressed. They'd call for the police and the government to come in and save them. And that's what I warned. I warned this of the left. Black Lives Matter would go out and smash everything up. Regular people would beg the government to come in and save them, and the government authoritarianism would escalate. You think that it's the Chinese finger trap problem. You think that the left being violent would dismantle government? Of course it won't. It emboldens it. It empowers it. You've got to relax. The finger trap, you got to push in and relax, and then you can get your fingers out. It's always that simple. When it comes to protest, it's not about aggression. It's about de-escalation, but asserting your rights. I was just watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, because I watch a lot of these sci-fi shows. And it was the episode where they're investigating a ship that has been mostly destroyed. They find a young boy, and the young boy is traumatized. In the end, spoiler alert, I guess, on a 30 or 40 year show, 30 or 40-year-old show, they were increasing the shields of the ship and then getting slammed by a massive wave of energy. So then they said, increase power to the shields, and they did, and then an even more powerful wave of energy would slam into them. And then the kid says, that's what they were saying on my ship. Increase power to the shields. Divert power from warp. And then Data, the android, goes to the captain and says, lower the shields now. And they're like, but this energy wave will destroy us. And he's like, do it. And the captain says, lower shields. And the energy wave dissipates. What was happening was the energy they were putting out was being amplified and slammed back into them. I don't know how that makes sense scientifically. It's a sci-fi show, so they can kind of just make things up. But that's what you need to get. What you need to understand. If you go out like January 6th and you say, we're going to be aggressive, yar, the system responds tenfold. If you escalate, they escalate tenfold. If you calm down and go out peacefully and reduce tactics, it causes the same equal and opposite reaction. But get this. If you come out with a level 1 aggression, the state comes back with level 10 aggression. If you go out with level 1 peaceful protest, the government comes out in the negative. They can't do anything because you're not doing anything, but you're disrupting, and it's causing them economic damage. If they come back with force on peaceful protesters, the people side with the protesters. Take your cues from Occupy Wall Street. When Officer Tony Baloney pepper sprayed those young girls, Occupy erupted. People were outraged. Look, we're mad about Wall Street and the bailouts. And then you pepper spray these young women minding their own business. Now we're getting up. The truckers come out. They disrupt. The police come out and abuse them and threaten their kids and insult them. And regular people are like, yo, chill, man. The truckers are being peaceful. The government is worried. It's working, man. Keep it up. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.